Hello, welcome back. This is part 2, the second part of the series. Instead of talking about how a mouse feels, I'm going to be talking about using it actually on the computer, and most specifically I'm going to be talking about tracking problems with the mouse, so that you guys can know whether or not you're going to be able to use it. Reminder, this is a glass mouse pad, this green thing. It's an ice mat, the ice mat 2. It's almost identical to the SteelSeries i2. And the reason why we have paperboard over it is because the Kinzu simply will not glide on it. Only certain parts of it will glide, and it'll not even glide well. It'll skip a whole bunch. It really doesn't work very well. It might have to do with the liftoff distance. It's possible that the sensor is not close enough to where the reflectivity actually occurs inside this glass. So it's possible that the liftoff distance needs to be just a hair higher for it to have reached. You can try shaving some down, maybe taking out the mouse feed and doing some sanding, but with the default configuration, these mouse feet just the Kinzu just will not work on this mouse pad, which is made by SteelSeries, which is interesting. Anyway, let's get on to it. I'm going to be doing some in-game tests. I'm going to be changing the DPI, the polling rate a little bit, and the in-game sensitivity and the Windows sensitivity. I'm going to try a few different settings and look at how it affects our performance in-game as far as acceleration goes and correction. So first things first, I'm going to talk about correction. You will find if you go to Paint, while this isn't a very accurate test, here is the configuration tool for SteelSeries. You probably can't really see it very well, but you can set the CPI, counts per inch, or DPI, whatever you want to call it, here in the resolution settings for the mouse. Here's one thing I noticed. It's kind of annoying, but this button on the top is supposed to switch between, I guess, settings. However, no matter what you put as the settings, it seems like this thing just alternates through all the DPI settings. So here it says it's at 800, and then I click it again, now it's at 1600, but it says it's at 400 on the screen. And then I click it one more time to go back to 800, and it's definitely at 3200. And then I click it one more time, and it's back to 400. So 400, 800, click, 1600, click, 3200, back to 400. So the hardware settings inside of this tool really is kind of useless when it comes to that, from my own experience. For posterity, I want people to know that I'm using the software version 1.0.7, and the firmware is 2.9.20. Okay, currently it's set to 1 kilohertz for a polling rate. That's really high because the default USB rate is something like 125, as far as I know. You can also change the Windows mouse sensitivity in here, but it's really not exact and it's kind of strange. There are only 11 notches, so I would just recommend just going into your Windows settings. It changes them in both places. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead into Team Fortress 2 because it's pretty vivid and it's easy to see what's going on, I guess. And I'm going to be testing a few different mouse sensitivity settings that'll help illustrate possible problems with this mouse. So how this test is going to work is I'm going to go ahead and line up the middle dot with this little square over here on the left. Well, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be off of the mouse pad, and then I'm going to keep tracking right until it starts moving, and then I'm going to move very slowly right until I hit a boundary, this notch that's here on this paperboard that's really easily to detect. That's how the test is going to work, and I'm going to do it at different speeds, varying speeds, track it at varying speeds, and ideally it should end up around the same area if there's no acceleration. So here's the first one that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing it using 400 DPI. So first I have to find it. Here is 400. Goofy, I know. We're at 400. The Windows mouse sensitivity I want to set to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Apply. It was already at 6. And I'm going to change my in-game sensitivity to 1.8. So now when I move the middle of the cursor very slowly, tracking right, I end around the fence. So that's kind of like the finish line. Now I'm going to do it again, except that I'm going to do it much quicker. Notice how it went down and there was negative acceleration, meaning that when I tracked faster, the tracking went actually slower. So Kinzu has an interesting bug where if you track really fast, it moves down. So not only does it move down, but horizontally there's negative acceleration, and I'm only intending to move it horizontally. So we track moderate pace, and it goes exactly where I wanted it to go, about. And we track really fast. Remember, really fast is really unscientific. Probably faster than almost anyone watching this video is ever going to track, and it goes down. So if you're a high sensitivity gamer, I really wouldn't worry about it. If you're low sensitivity, that's horrible, because you're going to need that speed, but the Kinzu won't give it to you. Alright, later on I'm going to test it against the Death Adder, for instance, and show you guys the difference, and possibly even the Diamondback 3G if there's time. So I've noticed one other interesting facet of this mouse, and that is that there's a certain speed that you can track where there's positive acceleration. If you do it fast, but not extremely fast, you actually get positive acceleration. It depends on, I guess, the DPI settings makes it more or less likely to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you guys. There, did you see that? I moved it even less, and it moved far over. There's positive acceleration with the Kinzu. See? If you move it fairly fast, there's tons of, well, not tons, but a moderate amount of positive acceleration. So you're actually going farther than you want your cursor to go. See? Positive acceleration. But if you move it really fast, negative acceleration, and your cursor goes down. Very strange. But if you move it at a moderate pace, it goes exactly where you want it to go. Even if you move it at a reasonably moderate pace, as in kind of fast. No, positive acceleration. So really, it's a grab bag. You either get positive acceleration or you get negative acceleration with the Kinzu. If you move it really fast, negative. If you move it kind of fast, positive. Anywhere else in between, anything for a high sensitivity gamer, not a problem. It tracks exactly where you want it to go. Let's just run through a couple other settings so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and move to 800 DPI. So that was 400. Now we're going to move to 800. By clicking this button, we move to 800. You can really notice the difference in how it feels. And let's keep it at 1000 Hertz. We'll just go back and change the pulling rate at the end.